Thanks so much, Sana, for that very kind introduction. I'm deeply grateful to the Foreign Policy Association and its board of directors for this very special honor. I have long admired the work of the Foreign Policy Association, your efforts over many years to help educate the next generation on key global issues and encourage public interest and engagement in the foreign policy process remain enormously important. Like the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, the Foreign Policy Association has been an advocate for thoughtful discussion of international challenges for more than a century. We both have our work cut out for us in the years ahead. Like most recovering diplomats, I'm entirely capable of droning on interminably, but I'll try to exercise some restraint and just offer three broad observations about the new era unfolding before us in American foreign policy. I'll try not to just admire the problem, but offer some ideas about what needs to be done about it. First, we have entered one of those rare transformative moments, one of those plastic moments on the international landscape, moments that come along maybe a couple of times a century. This one has several features. We see major shifts in the balance of power among states with the rise of China and the singular US dominance of the immediate post-Cold War era in the rearview mirror. We also see major and growing challenges beyond the reach of any one state. Problems without passports, like climate change, the single biggest existential threat to human society, global health security, and the revolution in technology. And we see major uncertainties about the role of the United States, the main driver of the old international order, seen by too many people around the world for the past 4 years to be drunk at the wheel. Adrift in domestic dysfunctions ranging from economic inequality to political polarization to racial injustice. Second, the Biden administration offers a chance to reinvent American foreign policy to enable us to navigate this more complicated and competitive landscape. We don't have the luxury of restoration, the notion that we can flip a switch or put a new and more competent driver at the wheel and expect to neatly recreate a world of deferential allies and suitably impressed rivals. Nor do we have the luxury of massive retrenchment, where we can withdraw from active engagement in the world, focus exclusively on nation building at home, and expect to avoid damage to our interests and our values. Instead, we'll have to reinvent our foreign policy and the way we conduct it. As the Biden administration navigates past the pandemic and begins a long process of economic recovery, it will be crucial to demonstrate to American citizens the connection between disciplined foreign policy and smart international cooperation and domestic renewal. The truth is that the gap between people like me, card-carrying members of the Washington policy establishment, and many Americans far beyond the Washington Beltway has grown wider in recent years. When we preach the virtues of disciplined American leadership, most Americans don't need to be persuaded so much about the importance of active US engagement in the world, but they're pretty skeptical about the discipline part because they've seen too many examples of indiscipline, of failure to match ends and means, too many examples of magical thinking about our capacity to transform other societies while neglecting the need to transform our own. So more than at any other moment in my professional lifetime, it's important to see foreign policy choices from the use of the US military to how we manage our alliances, to how we approach trade and international economic policy through the prism of their impact on the American middle class. We'll need to draw a clearer connection between foreign and domestic policy on issues ranging from the pandemic and economic recovery to climate change and immigration reform. And in Washington, we'll need to break down the silos which all too often isolate foreign and domestic policy considerations and help cultivate a new generation of policy thinkers and practitioners as adept in domestic policy as they are in foreign policy. Recovering our national capacity for self-repair, what Tocqueville called the most exceptional of American qualities, but which we've been testing severely over the past 4 years, will be the key to domestic renewal. It will also be one of two critical elements in managing what will be an intense long-term competition with China. the central geopolitical test for US statecraft as far out into the 21st century as I can see. Recovering our capacity for competent governance and getting things done at home will be crucial to denting the self-assurance of a Chinese leadership that has been tempted, at least since the 2008 financial crisis, to see a United States in terminal decline. The other critical element will be reinventing our capacity for alliances and partnerships, for mobilizing coalitions of countries around common concerns and reshaping international rules of the road and institutions. That's the capacity that, at least today, still sets us apart from lonelier powers like China and Russia. It's a capacity that will not prevent China's rise, but it can certainly shape the environment into which China rises and safeguard American interests and the values we share with democratic partners. My third and final observation is about my old profession, in which I labored proudly for 3.5 decades, American diplomacy. I've never seen a moment when diplomacy mattered more to the United States or been more adrift. The last 4 years have badly accelerated that pre-existing condition. In the Department of State, career expertise has been systematically sidelined. Of the 28 Assistant Secretary of State positions, today only one is held by a career officer confirmed by the US Senate. The historically high quantity of non-career ambassadors overseas in this administration is too often matched by their dismal quality. There has been a pernicious practice of going after career officers just because they worked on controversial issues in the last administration. The department's leadership was derelict in its duty during the Ukraine impeachment process, abandoning honorable career officers accustomed to incoming fire in hard places around the world, but not from their own political leadership, and already unacceptably slow progress toward creating a foreign service that looks more like the society it represents has been thrown into reverse, with only 4 Black Americans among 189 US ambassadors serving our country around the world today. I have no doubt that President-elect Biden and his administration will make reversing those corrosive trends and reinventing diplomacy as our tool of first resort a very high priority. It will take longer to fix than it has taken to break, but we have a moment of possibility before us. Recovering diplomats like me have learned a lot of lessons, oftentimes the hard way, and I've certainly learned my share. But I accept this award with deep gratitude in an optimistic spirit. I have no doubt that the years ahead will be deeply challenging for the United States in an unforgiving world, but we still have a strong hand to play. If we keep foreign policy connected carefully to domestic renewal, if we exercise discipline and restraint, and if we can resuscitate the power of our example and our values after the values holiday of the last 4 years. So thank you so much again, and stay safe and well in this difficult time of pandemic.